In 1977, a small factory in Colvin, Leicester got to work on something that would change the lives of countless people. Little did they realise that people were still caring enough 40 years later to sit and listen to a guy waffle on about that product. This is the Star Wars Toy Podcast. Hello there, welcome to episode 37 of the Star Wars Toy Podcast. I'm Darth Mark, and this week's podcast is going to be one of those mixed bags where I try and update you on things that have been occurring. But before we get down to all that, let's have a bit of this.
The Star Wars Tracker Report.
Final Cape Jawas and double telescoping figures would be a fair summary of the highlights of the latest Hakes.com auction this week. A loose graded double telescoping Ben Kenobi figure fetched $7,200, while the main event, a 12-back double telescoping Darth Vader with a white footer, was just over $47,200. Both items graded in the 70s, which will always put the ceiling on the price, but healthy finishes regardless. Two carded vinyl Cape Jawa figures featured in the auction. First being an FA60 example finishing at $11,800 and an FA85 at $8,400. Ordinarily, you would expect the higher grade to be costlier, but in this case, the FA60, being unpunched, proved much more attractive and desirable. Outside the Hakes auction, a couple of rarer Power of the Force coins were also listed this week to provide welcome price references. The Tusken Raider coin takes top spot at $1,199. All considered an interesting week in the markets. And what I'll do is I'm gonna start doing the coins because there are some coin collectors out there. So this is the market activity for the 7th of March 2020 to the 13th of March 2020. And all in all, there was 955 items sold for a total of £195,150. So I'm going to start with the top 5 accessories. At number 5, we have a Tatooine Skiff Cass Q70 on a Kenner Power of the Force A Tatooine scene box. And it was sold in the United States for $952. Number 4, we have a PDT-8 Personal Deployment Transport on a Kenner Empire Strikes Back C Hossein 2-1B special offer. Sold in the United States for $1,125. Number 3, we have a Millennium Falcon on a Kenner Empire Strikes Back A Stormtrooper scene. Sold in the United States for $1,304. Number 2, a Land of the Jawas playset. AFA85 on a Kenner Star Wars B playset scene. Rebate offer sticker. Sold in the United States for $1,460. But at number 1, we have a Slave 1, a Cass 85. Seems like Cass are starting to creep into this tracker report now, and they do seem to be a legitimate alternative to AFA in America. So this Slave 1 was on a Kenner Empire Strikes Back A Cloud City scene, and it was sold in the United States for $1,947. So onto the top 5 Power of the Force coins now. I used to do these before, and I didn't get a lot of feedback for them. But I'm going to start doing them. See if let me know if you like them, if you want me to carry on doing it. If you do actually collect them, I would like to hear from you. At number 5, we have Obi-Wan Kenobi. And as these are nearly always sold in the United States, I'm not going to even mention that. Unless they're sold somewhere else, I won't mention it. They'll be all sold in the United States. And this was $124. Number 4, Chief Chirper for $199. Number 3 is Han Solo Hoth, sold for $299. Number 2, Star Destroyer Commander for $699. And number 1 is a Sander People Tusken Raider, and that was $1,199. These coins can definitely go for a lot of money, and the rarity value is astronomical on these. And it's probably something I will talk about when I get into the Power of the Force line very soon. So on to the top 5 loose figures now. At number 5, I have an R5D4 Red Bar AFA85. I actually saw one of these on sale for the first time this week on one of the Facebook groups. And the Facebook groups is something I'm going to be talking about today, so stay tuned for that. But this little R5D4 was sold in the United States for $519. And number 4, we have a Luke Skywalker fanboy DT Saber, sold in the United Kingdom for £686. Not bad. And number 3, we have a vinyl Cape Jawa UKG, sold in Germany for £110. And number 2, we have another vinyl Cape Jawa AFA 85 this time, sold in the United States for $1,898. But number 1, we have a Obi-Wan Kenobi DT Saber, which I've already mentioned, AFA 70, sold at Hakes for $7,203. And finally, on to the top 5 Minton card figures. At number 5, we have Boba Fett AFA 80 on a Kenner Star Wars 1201C, sold in the United States for $3,245. Number 4 is a Death Squad Commander AFA 60 on a Kenner Star Wars 12A card, sold in the United States for $7,354. Number 3, that vinyl Cape Jawa AFA 85 on a Kenner Star Wars 12A card, sold in the United States for $8,437. Number 2 is another vinyl Cape Jawa, they're popular this week, AFA 60, Kenner Star Wars 12A, sold in the United States for $11,800. And the number 1 is that Darth Vader DT Saber AFA 75 on a Kenner Star Wars 12A card, sold at Hakes for $47,200. So that's the Star Wars tracker for this week. Another exciting one when there are seasons when it's a Hakes auction. No rocket firing Boba Fett's this time though. If you're interested in finding out where you can get this Star Wars tracker, which is absolutely brilliant, and I'm not paid to say that at all. He doesn't even give it to me for free. But there is $5 off if you put in TSW-25. Almost everything on this podcast that I mention is something I use. I have most of the books and I use most of them for reference, but this tracker is probably the go-to reference guide that I use, especially for the prices. And speaking of prices, there is a new page on Facebook called Blue Harvest Vintage Toy Valuations, which is mainly for Star Wars, but all vintage toys will be researched and valued. So check that out as well.
Penny for your thoughts.
So as I said, there's no specific theme for this podcast this week. I'm just going to do a couple of updates and just waffle on about Star Wars related things that are happening. And if you listened to the podcast a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about the death of the 5 POA Star Wars figures. And a friend actually messaged me with a bit of a concern. I'm not going to name him or anything like that because I'll read it out and you can find out for yourself why I'm not naming the person. They do work in store. I'm not going to tell you who for or anything like that. And there was a Hasbro guy there who we talked to. I asked him about why Star Wars is a vintage collection that are so limited, and he really had no clue. His best guess was that he thinks Hasbro thinks people will come in the store for Star Wars, but they'll leave with a Beyblade or a Transformer because they're always in stock and are made and owned by Hasbro. But Star Wars is a licensed product and half the profit goes to Disney. So it's more profitable for Hasbro to stock or sell their own products than to do the Star Wars products. And if that's true, as I said, that is pretty concerning. So the gist of it is this. Since The Force Awakens did so well, the cost of the Star Wars license went up. I guess it's close to 50%. So take a $20 figure. Walmart wants 30% and Disney wants 50%. So a $20 figure, Walmart gets $6, Disney gets $10, and Hasbro is left with $4, which hardly covers the manufacturing. But with the $20 Transformer, Walmart gets $6 and Hasbro gets the rest, $14. He went on to say, so if you were Hasbro, which would you manufacture more of? The toy that makes you $14 or the one that makes you $4? It's simple math and business. It's probably a bit more complex than that, but it gives you the basic idea. And again, if that is true, that is really concerning. But having said that, though, they have reconstructed that deal this past few weeks. couple of months ago, was it? And to be honest with you, it makes more sense that they left it to the last minute. They probably didn't really want it back, but they are probably one of the only big companies that can afford to buy it. And hopefully they got a better deal so we can get more Star Wars on the shelves. And staying on the 5 POA 3 3/4 subject, I had a message from John at the Super Awesome Geek Show. He says, I think it's a shame that there are no 3 3/4 5 POA figures for Rise of Skywalker. I'm okay if the business says that will no longer be profitable and the line will stop, but why stop the line after the last movie of the Star Wars saga? At least do 10 to 12 characters and then stop it. If you've been a collector all along, you have figures from every single movie in the Skywalker saga standing side by side, and then nothing for the last movie in the saga. That kind of breaks the set in a way. Shame. As a collector, I'm fine, just getting the vintage collection and retro collection both. I'm good with the retro collection the way it is. Just a few figures for each of the original trilogy movies. I don't want them to do the whole all 96 or whatever. This is just a collector thing, because with 6 to 8 per movie, we can easily collect them. But if they did all 96, then there would be a lot that never hit store shelves, and it would just create a ton of frustration as we all try and get them all. It would almost be impossible, and that would bother me a lot. More than any other line, that would bother me. See, I'm okay with the vintage collection, and I've come to terms with the idea that I will never have them all in the vintage collection line. I wouldn't accept that with the retro collection, because I'm a vintage Kenner collector, and I would have to have all of those. But back to the vintage collection. Now, I'm okay, and I have to come to grips with knowing I won't ever get the whole collection, so I'm at peace with that. My problems are that the figures are not in shops in the quantity they need to be. Still never ever seen the last wave of the Rogue One, that Stormtrooper or whatnot. Never even saw them in store. Now it's the same with the Mando wave. It's hit twice in stores so far, but every store just gets 1 or 2 cases, which means only 1 or 2 collectors can get a set. Everyone else is just screwed. My second issue is the price of the vehicles. Almost every vehicle is $100 or more. Even small transports are close to $100. $85 for that Imperial transport, and it was $80 for the Rogue One tank. Now the Slave one will be $150. It's just too much money there. When you have 2 X-Wings come out at the exact same time, and both at $100, most people have to choose between them, if any at all. They need some items that are in the $25 to $45 range for vehicles and creatures in the vintage collection to round it out. But then again, we'll probably never see those in stores. I never saw a Luke X-Wing in a shop, and only once saw a Poe X-Wing. But those are my main issues in collecting at the moment. The price tag and the quantity that Hasbro releases to stores. Vintage collection are almost impossible to find, and when you do find them, they're way too expensive. I buy them, don't get me wrong. I buy them when I see them. But I'm not happy about it. Yeah, it's a shame that you'll not get the full collection, and distribution is still an issue. I've never really thought about the pricing of the vehicles, but you're right, they're expensive. Even the Black Series are cheaper. That new Snowspeeder is on Amazon for £93. And to be honest with you, I'd prefer to get that. I'm not a vintage collection collector. I collect the original line and a Black Series. And again, like John there with the vintage collection, I will never get all the Black Series because there's too many of them. At the moment, I just get the figures I like. It's not like with the vintage line, where I do fully intend to get the 96 and the variations, and that never ends. But to be honest with you, it can. You can get just the 96, don't get the variations, don't get the vehicles, don't get any playsets, anything like that. Just get the figures, 96 figures, loose or carded. I'm just going to get the loose now. I eventually found the retro collection in my local Asda. I was just lucky enough to be there when there was one case, which was what John actually just said. There's 1 or 2 cases in each store. In the UK, we have nothing. Smiths don't get anything in from America, Hasbro. Anything Star Wars related, really. Ever since Toys R Us shut down, we in the UK I've been knackered, really. I go to Forbidden Planet, pay over the odds. I don't know, it's about right. I mean, they're importing them from America. So the price is about right. If you want these, you're going to have to pay a bit more. That's what us collectors have to do in these days, especially in the UK. I see videos from people in the US, and there are actually things on the store shelves. We don't have a store that has things like that. Smiths don't stock Hasbro, Star Wars stuff. They just don't. They used to. And Smiths is the only toy store in this country. There's the Entertainer, blah, 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 these little independent stores. But if you want to go to a toy store, there's Smiths. Now, the Entertainer are brilliant, but they're just really selling old stock now. They sell some vintage collection. They were at £5.50. I got the Dr. Afra at £5.50. Now, they've gone up to £9 now. But they don't have any of the exciting figures, should I say. They have some Stormtroopers and they have the Rays and things like that. And it can be hit and miss if you go into Entertainer. I go in quite often. There's two near me. And I go in quite often, and I usually pick up some things. The Last Jedi 3 3/4 are £3.33, and the Rogue One figures are £2. So £2 for a Star Wars figure is just amazing. Still in the packet, on the shelves. That's brilliant. But we're not getting the Black Series. We're not getting anything new. And that is where Toys R Us could exploit that gap in the market. Just open little stores in the UK for collectors. They would make a killing. So as I say, I'm trying to get complete on the retro collection. I got the Tarkin, and I'm waiting for the Empire Strikes Back wave to come out. Hopefully I still get them again, and it's just a matter of getting lucky and being there at the right time. Again, I was talking to John about this the other day, and he has ordered a case from Hasbro Pulse. We don't have Hasbro Pulse in the UK. Again, ginger stepchild of Hasbro and Star Wars in general, really, even though it was made here. And most of the actors in it are British. And back to the Black Series, the 40th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back Black Series are coming out, the 6-inch versions. I know I won't get them all. I would like a couple. I got a few of the Star Wars ones that came out. I've got 3PO, R2, Jawa, Leia, and the Death Squad Commander. Again, I could hunt for the lot and get them complete, but it's like with vintage. It's the thrill of the chase. You just don't have to throw your money at them. If you're collecting them, try and find them for the cheapest price. That is the best thing about vintage figures, is finding them cheapest. Maybe that's the point of collecting is not as thrilling for people these days. It's because they can go on eBay, and if they've got enough money, they can just buy the whole lot. Back in the 70s and 80s, we had no internet, so we didn't know what was coming out. We knew what was coming out when we saw it in the shops. And that was the only place you could buy it. You might have been lucky who had a relative in the United States who'll send you some nice stuff over. Or if you had an uncle who had a toy shop, you'd get the figures first. But that's the whole point. There were an abundance, the vintage line. There were some figures you never saw. I never saw a Ben Kenobi until I got to France. I never saw a Princess Leia. Or if I did, I didn't notice. And maybe that's why distribution is not that good. Because they know they can sell it online. Hasbro Pulse, Hasbro.com, Hasbro on eBay, sell them in bulk to online sellers. Again, why ship them to stores where they'll just be peg warming? I think things have really got to change. So thanks for John for that. You can find him at the Super Awesome Geek Show over on Twitter or on YouTube. And he has an amazing collection. Check him out.
Somebody once told me the world is gonna throw me.
So lately I've been stepping up my vintage collecting. I'm up to 49 figures now, and I'm almost got the first 21. I've been doing videos over on YouTube for each of the figures, just talking about them and a little bit of background about them. And my cabinet's getting quite full now, so I think I need to buy some new steps and stands for the rest of them when they do come. I've just bought a Gonk Droid from Gaz Bond, but I'll mention that in a bit. I still need a Greedo and a little red snag if anybody's got a spare one out there. Doesn't have to be complete. I know I usually say buy complete. You should really buy complete, but getting hold of those weapons is quite expensive. But when I complete that first 21, I can relax and know that my videos will be done up to 21. I do have above that, obviously, but I want to do them in order. So what I did is go back on Facebook. Yeah, I know. I've only gone back on to really advertise this podcast and my YouTube channel and try and get a few more vintage figures. I've been trying to get a few different lines as well. But I won't talk about that. This is a Star Wars toy podcast. And you know what I say? We'll only talk about Star Wars toys on a Star Wars toy podcast. Over on my YouTube channel, it's a totally different story. I've been getting a lot of the Doctor Who figures and a few other lines, but this is always going to be Star Wars toy related. So if you're like me and you're wanting to collect vintage and complete your line, it's probably a good idea to go on Facebook, because you'd probably be sick of paying the eBay fees and worrying about repro, because one of the things you can be assured about in a lot of the Facebook groups is no repro. A lot of them don't have customs or anything like that. So the first group you really should join is Echo Base UK Trading Vintage Star Wars 1977 to 1988. A UK-based group for buying, selling, trading vintage Star Wars toys from 1977 to 1988. And they've been on Facebook since March of 2014. And they have grown exponentially. And they're one of the main, if not the main, Star Wars toy selling group on Facebook. Now, I've been a member before. I've had ups and downs with Echo, but they are invaluable if you're a collector. They also host the Echo Live in Redditch twice a year. Obviously, this April's event has been postponed, which is a shame because I wanted to go down there. The last time I was down there was 2 years ago when I did a table for the TSW Toy Box podcast. So check out that group, but be warned, it's for serious collectors. And their group rules are: number 1, all sales trades have to have your name and date. Number 2, no PM dealing. Number 3, no valuation requests. Number 4, disallowed items. No reproduction, modern, 88 onwards, autographs or customs, please. No external links, unless okayed with the admins, obviously. No phishing posts, it's either a sale or it's not. No other Star Wars posts. No pictures of Death Star barbecues, Star Destroyer-shaped clouds, or other tat. Number 8 is don't be a dick. And number 9 is no hate speech or bullying. So I mentioned Gazbond earlier, who I've bought the Power Droid off. And his group is the Dark Side Alliance Vintage Toys and Star Wars. That group was created August 2017. It's not all Star Wars that are Masters of the Universe. There's all sorts on there. But it's mainly Star Wars. And his rules are: this is a selling group only. We are generally aimed at keep out the non-sale related discussions. And one of the things that differs from other groups is that only the admins are allowed to sell. So it's more like a company page, really. But Gaz does have some awesome stuff on there. No politics surrounding other groups, which is good. No petty arguments between members. No bullying, racist behaviour. Sales are done on a first-come, first-served basis. We want this to be as pain-free as possible. It's at the seller's discretion to offer payment plans. We will only offer plans 24 hours after the item has been posted. There are also auctions on there. And it also states we're not exclusive to Star Wars toys. We'll be selling all toy lines on here, although it will be predominantly Star Wars. We are interested in buying toy collections and to contact them if you've got anything to sell. Next up is Jabba's Court Vintage Star Wars Collectors Group 1977 to 1988. And they were created in June 2016. We also have Ula's Booty Vintage Toys and Collectibles Trading Group. This is a pretty broad area which covers action figures, vintage toys, Lego, and other TV, film, and collectible memorabilia. Also, to discuss our childhood, the 80s, and general reminiscence. They were created in March 2017. Their rules are more or less similar to the rest of the groups, but number 8, vintage toy preservation. We do not condone the promotion or opening or destroying vintage toys. Any sort of media associated with this stance will be deleted immediately, which is brilliant. I was talking to somebody the other day from a certain auction house, I won't name it, where they had some carded Star Wars figures just lying in boxes. So I just mentioned that they needed to be protected a bit more. Somebody else said, just open them. Nobody's bothered. And this person was going along with it and having a laugh about it. And I said, it's a bit more serious. I need a bit more respect. So they then backtracked quite a bit. So into the next group is Star Wars Collectibles for sale, which was created in May 2016. Here you can buy Star Wars collectibles from people you can trust. Welcome, may the Force be with you, and have fun. Attention, sellers must post all sale items with a picture, price and location. No eBay or outside sources, sales links of any kind allowed. Please be courteous, no attacking the group, other members, or price bashing. No blocking admins or moderators, no reproduction items or recarded figures allowed. Always send payments as good and services rather than friends and family. Friends and family not allowed in this group for members' protection. Which is quite interesting because most of the sellers or other groups usually do friends and family. But it depends on the buyer, really. And that's why I always buy from people that I know and I can trust. And another reason why these groups are so good. So the last group I'm going to mention today is Toys of Tatooine and Action Plastics. Star Wars Vintage 77 to 85. Toys of Tatooine LLP is a partnership set up by Star Wars vintage collectors Ben Potter and Richard Temple. Buying just became more fun. Now these guys are based in Leeds and Richard is a friend of mine. I've not seen him for a while and I've just got back in touch with him. But this group is amazing. Some of the things that they put up, you can't make it up. Some of the toys that, just not just toys, it's all kinds of Star Wars stuff. C-3PO soap, which I actually remember having back in 1978, and I wish I'd never used. Badges, comics, bookmarks, prints, all sorts of things that you won't find anywhere else. So there's a few of the groups that you should be looking at on Facebook. If you've got a group or you know of a group that you want me to talk about, let me know. I've now got a page on Facebook, Star Wars Toy Podcast, and I started a valuation group, Blue Harvest Vintage Toy Valuations. So head over there and check those out. You can also find me on Twitter at Star Wars Toy Pod. You can email the show, Blue Harvest Vintage Toys at gmail.com. I have a Teepublic store if you want to get the t-shirt of this podcast or many other t-shirts that I've put up there. And there's also my Patreon. If you fancy helping out this podcast and paying at least $1 a month, it would help the podcast and the YouTube channel to make a lot more content. I am trying to put a video a day up on YouTube, so check that out too. And until next week, may the toys be with you.
Just one more round, friend, then homeward bound, friend. Don't forget me in your dreams. Just one more song, friend, and then so long, friend. The nights get shorter, it seems. Just one more rhyme, friend. Yes, it's a crime, friend. But you know time, friend. Time can fly. So it's good night, friend. Good night, but not goodbye.